Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and today, this fun little video, I'm going to talk about all the books I've read so far in 2026. It's not many and that's why I haven't done any monthly wrap-ups because it's not enough for like a good amount of video, if that makes sense, like time-wise. So I'm going to chit-chat about all the books that I've read so far, and from my Goodreads are 13 books if I'm not wrong, 13 out of 50. Last year I read 24 and that was in the span of like August to December, and that was pretty good considering the fact that I hadn't read in like a year and a half. So the fact that I'm like kind of going, I'm like perfect. Also, if you hear in the background, those are my dogs. It's like 9 p.m. and this is like the only quiet time in my house, so I have a lot to say because I hated some of the books that I've read so far, like genuinely enraged me, which is kind of funny that books can make me feel that way. And then other books that I absolutely love. I already have a couple 5 stars, but my 5 stars are very like, I like to say they're lenient, because if they make me cry and make me feel like I'm like 5 stars, but a lot of things make me feel like that's, so I'm not too picky in my 5 stars. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I'm gonna go in order because I mean I could, but I just want to talk about most of the books. I want to talk about just the books in general and not really think about like how I went with it, but I'm gonna try to at least. Some books I don't have physical copies. I listen to them on Spotify, so if I don't show it, it's because I listened to it instead of actually read it, which is like I think 3 or 4. Also, I'm going to talk about the ratings, and if I have reviews, you will probably see them on my Goodreads, which I think it's just at Jess Garcia if I'm not wrong. I also have Storygraph, which is at Jess Garcia MTZ if I'm not wrong, because I do use both of them. I like the fun little graphs that Storygraph has, but I like the setup of Goodreads. I don't know how to explain it. Anyways, let's get started. So the first 2 books, they're really short and simple that I came into 2026 are Tuesdays with Morrie and Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer. I have a couple books from this author. I think a man called Ove, I think that's how you pronounce his name. That's one of them, and I got into this side of TikTok and so many people were talking about his writing, and I saw a bunch of quotes and I was like, oh, I kind of want to get on that train, but let me start off with a small book. This book was cute. I rated this a 3-star and would recommend it, though the only thing, I would give this to like middle school, like a middle schooler, because for me, genuinely, I like to connect with the characters in like a very deep level, and considering the fact that also I'm probably gonna be spoilers with a lot of these because it's just spoiler warning. I like connecting with all the characters, and specifically characters who have illnesses. Like this character, his grandpa, he had, if I'm not wrong, Alzheimer's disease or dementia disease, and as somebody in the medical field, I had worked with patients like that, and I wanted to feel connected to his grandfather to understand the way that he was feeling, and I did. But because I worked with patients like that, I had an understanding of how horrible this disease was, and it was again very interesting how it was written, because it was more so written for people to understand it, but like for a younger audience. I just wish I had like more of a background of his grandpa and all this other stuff so I could like feel a deeper connection. And yeah, I didn't annotate this book. I might go back one day to annotate it, but again, it wasn't like, it didn't stuck out to me. Like I've read other books that have talked about this illness specifically that like literally just disheveled me. So that was an interesting read. I do recommend it. Again, I just feel like it's for a younger audience, not for like high schoolers and adults, because I feel like it's, I don't know how to explain it. I just think it's for like a younger audience, like middle school, if you're trying to explain a disease like that to them. And along those lines, because I read like, hi, this is my dog Uzi. He's my Velcro dog. Anyways, continue with kind of like a theme, really. I don't know why I was reading a lot of these books, but books about characters with diseases. I don't want to say characters because I feel like people actually experience this, but Tuesdays with Morrie. I highly recommend this. I gave this a 5-star. It was gut-wrenching finishing it. And not only that, while I was reading this, also I think Eric Dane's news broke that he also has ALS. And again, being in the medical field and understanding how awful these diseases are is so, like, it just not opens your eyes, but it's just like widens the empathy in a sense. Wow, ALS, it's like your brain is fully intact, but it's breaking down everything else in your body. You stop walking, you start like eating, like your muscles like just deteriorate, and it gets to the point where you stop breathing, but they still feel pain. And that to me is so crazy that the nervous system can do that. But seeing this book specifically, not seeing, reading this book specifically was just, again, disheartening. Seeing like this professor who is so loved by so many people, and I feel like a lot of people can relate. You have like that one professor, that one teacher that like everybody just loves and everybody just wants to like be friends with them. Similar situation, and then this man is learning a lesson through Morrie about how life isn't just about like going and like doing business all the damn time. It's like spend time with the people that you love. Like genuinely, that's like the whole message in the book, because it can literally be taken away within months. Having to see him go through that, where he liked to do like his walks and like all this, and not being able to because of this disease, was so heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking. And he passed away. At the end of it, he passed away. And it's one of those, like, you know he's going to, but like when it does, you're like, ugh. And yet I gave it a 5-star because it is very informative and it's very touching. It has a lot of good life lesson. When I was reading it, it was more so a reminder than like a lesson. I know some people are very like, and like are too focused on like just getting to the next level, getting to the next milestone, which like, yes, that is good, but at the same time a lot of people forget about living life. Another book that I read about diseases and illnesses, and that's Everything Tuberculosis by John Green. This book was very, very interesting. For me and my brain, I don't know how or when I compared it, I think I saw a review, but I compared it to COVID. And when people stop caring about curing a disease or start questioning about a disease when it doesn't affect them directly, and it's so interesting because it was also talked about STDs, how it's a very like wide disease, but people paid attention to that. People put millions of dollars into that because it affects the ultra rich as well, not just like the lower income. Same thing with COVID. It was affecting people of all ages and stuff. Like the money to cure all the tuberculosis and prevent it, they just choose not to, just because it doesn't affect like the rich. Just very interesting listening to that book and just hearing all like the details and the fact, and then listening to Henry, which I have yet to look up his YouTube video, but I do want to look it up, and I also want to read his book. So that was interesting. He also gave a lot of other recommendations for books, and yeah, it was just very interesting listening to that. Or probably one of like the more heavier books that I read this year, and I recommend all of them. Truly, I do. They're also pretty quick in my opinion. Now let's go to the books that are for funsies. No, I think from like some of my TikToks and stuff, how much I love Rebecca Yarros romance books, and of course I did read 2. I read these basically in a sitting for the most part, and I cannot express to you enough how I can read these books and be like, this is awesome, but once I pick up this book, I'm like, I don't want to read it. How did the author write these 2 books? How? I don't understand. The book that I read by Rebecca Yarros was The Unlikely Event. I love this book. I cannot express to anybody enough how much I love Rebecca Yarros' romance book, because every single one of them is military, and you know how I love my military men. Not only that, her plots, always plotting, always a good plot, but they do have the same like, what's it called? What is that called? It's like the same thing every book, but like different, if that makes sense. So for example, in this book, he is in the God, I don't know, army, special forces kind of thing. Female main character in this book is something along the lines of a lawyer in the political system, and this is set in Afghanistan, and then literally throughout 6 years of their life, when they met, how they kept like meeting and bumping into each other, and how she basically got into politics to stop a war in Afghanistan so she could get a chance with him, because they couldn't be together. They couldn't be together. They didn't hold each other back, but they realized like, no, like I really can't date anybody because they are the only one. Like I just don't feel it's right for me to date anybody because I haven't had my chance with that person. Ate it up, ate it up, ate it up, ate it up. Do I think there's a couple pages that I think should be taken out? Yes. But who doesn't like a good slow burn? I kid you not, that much until they probably kissed or something. In the present tense. In the present tense. So that I loved it. And also, if you know anything about Rebecca Yarros, at least the first 2 books that I read, that was horrendous to read because they low-key traumatized me. There's no death in this book. Thank God. But I did cry out of pure joy and happiness. It was awesome finishing this book. I was like, oh my God. 5 stars. 5 stars. It was awesome. I loved it. I loved it so much. Again, the theme is the same. That's the word. The theme is the same with like, it's always like the guy rescuing the girl and blah, blah, blah. But it's so unique in each book. I eat it up every time. I eat it up. First, this one. I think it's pronounced variation. I couldn't tell you, okay? English is my second language, so I could not tell you I'm pronouncing this right. I did put this 5 stars in my Goodreads and also my Storygraph, but looking back at it, I'd give it a 4 star just because it didn't move me the way that the other 3 books have moved me. This is a Coast Guard man with a professional ballet girl. And this is like second chance, childhood, like best friend slash romance. And that's, there's a one bed kind of vibe trope, so that was fun. So cute too. I love reading about every single military like in a sense, because I think he's army in the other one. This is Coast Guard, and then I don't know the other 2 if I'm being completely honest. I think it's also army for the last letter, and then in the likely event, it's not, the main characters aren't in the military, but like the past tense military vibes. So I love it. I love learning anything about the military. It's probably, I don't know why, it's just so interesting to me, but I love it. So any chance that I get to read it, I'm like, I'm gonna read it. So if you know anybody who writes military romance books that is as good as her, bring them to my attention, because I eat it up every time. So I gave this a 4 star because not only did it not move me, I realized how repetitive it was getting, and also I got annoyed with the main character. She was just like a bratty rich girl for the most part. Like we saw her in her monologue, but it was just like so bratty sometimes that I was so irritated. And then in the end, spoilers, she is like beefing with her mom for the most of the book. And you know what, I'm like, yeah, like her mom's a cunt. I'm like, fuck her mom. And then we find out that she has Alzheimer's. And the main character, the girl, I get it, you have a lot of beef, I understand, goes and yells at her. The mom doesn't even know what's going on. Why are you yelling at her? Because from the moment she yelled at her to later on, she passed away within a year. Why are we yelling at her? I get it, like she had like a lot of resentment, a lot of like hardship, whatever. But that just kind of threw me in the loop. I'm like, girl, you need to find peace on your own. Like your mother is not gonna do that for you. She doesn't even know where she is. I think I have to talk about my other current favorite book. I literally just finished this like not too long ago, but it's, oh my god, you guys. I dipped my toes back into the Magnolia Parks and the Daisy Hates world, and that was scary enough. But let me tell you, I love Christian Hems, however you pronounce his last name. I love that man. I love that man so much, and I love Daisy. And Magnolia and BJ, their relationship like kind of pissed me off, specifically Magnolia. Because she also reminds me of the Addicted Calloway sisters. So I kept getting them confused because of the famous aspect of it, but then I was like, oh wait, girl, come on. My dog is like snoring like crazy right now. I have a pug, if you couldn't tell from the breathing. Anyways, Magnolia. I mean, even when I was reading the book, I ate it up, but she kind of pissed me off. And then when I finished that book, Magnolia Parks, I think I finished it back in like 2024. I couldn't pick up Daisy Hates. I couldn't, because the ending of Magnolia Parks, and I'm not even gonna tell you, gutting. I wanted to throw up. When I read the last couple pages, I wanted to puke, vomit. Literally, like, awful reading that. And just like the way that she was like describing some stuff, I was like, I can't do this. So I never picked up Daisy Hates because I was A, traumatized from reading Magnolia Parks, and B, I kept reading the first page and I was like, I just don't want to read this. But then I finally did. And then I finally did. So if you don't know, the Magnolia Park series is Magnolia and BJ. BJ, I'm pretty sure, is a model. Magnolia, I don't know what she's famous for, but she's famous. And that's how they're millionaires. She's famous, whatever. Daisy Hates, on the other hand, they're millionaires and billionaires, or whatever the heck it is, because she's a gang lord princess. And you know what? Mafia. Love it. Give me one of those, okay? It was, oh my god, reading this was so, I loved it. I loved every second of it. Besides Julian's POV. I really got annoyed with reading Julian's POV, because every time I saw it, even though it was like a page or two, I was like, oh, like, give me Christian. I want to read Christian's monologue, okay? Daisy pissed me off too, but you know what? Both books, what I realized why they were so like crazy when it came to emotions, I'm like, if you had that much money, didn't have to worry about groceries, car, rent, basically anything, because these motherfuckers would literally just fly to Italy whenever they wanted. Okay. If you didn't have to worry about that, what's else to worry about? Who the F you're loving. That's what you worry about. So I'm like, you know what? I had to let it slide, okay? She was doing some like crazy shit in here, and I was like, girl, what the fuck are you doing? But you can't really be mad at it, because she doesn't have to worry about anything. So it was, I loved it. Moving along, when I read, I usually read like 3 to 2 books at a time. I listen to one is romance, and then one is like informative, because I like to use my brain sometimes. And informative books, I like reading memoirs. And I finally finished this book, Everything I Know About Love, by Dolly Alderton. I gave this book, I think, a 4 stars, if I'm not wrong. I gave that book a 4 stars too, if I'm not wrong. Let's check. 4 star. And then Daisy Hates, I gave a 4 stars as well. I gave this a 4 star. Okay, and I'm gonna hold your hands when I talk to you about this book. Okay. So this book, it was fun. It was great. I enjoyed it very much. Starting right here, basically. And I'm gonna say that because I am in like a very wonderful spot in my life where I don't give an F, if you will, about men. I get annoyed with men, well, not in a bad way. I'm just not interested. I've been very single since December, so I don't really care. But there was a point in my life where I centered a man to the point that I ruined myself for a man. So I got her. When reading this, so incredibly annoyed. But of course, hindsight is 2020. When you're out of a situation, you don't see it in their eyes. You're seeing in the eyes of you right now. So when I was reading this, I was so pissed, reading every single one of her mistakes. Every single one of them. And the one that got me the most annoyed was like, she also had an alcohol problem, so that was a whole other added on to problem. But again, speaking of that, I really enjoyed how they talked about it in this, because I have dealt with an alcoholic before. It's not fun. It's very exhausting, and you grow so much resentment towards them. But seeing her explain her alcoholism was very interesting, because she also was very self-aware how out of hand it was getting. And seeing somebody realize their alcoholism getting out of hand, well, I have dealt with it, and them not even giving a flying F that it was a problem, it was very like validating in a sense, like, okay, so I wasn't the problem, okay? Kind of thing. Because it gets to a point where you're like, I don't know what to do. You do everything, you support them, and they're like, some people are just very destructive, and some people just enjoy being intoxicated, and you can't really get them sober unless they want to, which, again, it's very nice seeing that she ended up working to fix that issue. But, again, this is more in her 20s, like some of her high school years, but also in her 20s, and this is why I recommend most people to read this in their 20s. Reading this was very like, oh my god, like a lot of my feelings were validated, a lot of my feelings and a lot of pressure just like got lifted off my shoulders as somebody. I'm turning 24 in like 2 weeks, so it was very just kind of thing, you know. But the one thing that really annoyed the actual F out of me, so irritating, was the fact that one of her little vendors, it's what I'm gonna call them, she went partying. She was supposed to go home. She didn't want to go home. She went to go see a guy, and this is based in Europe, if I'm not wrong. London, to be specific, I think, but I'm not completely sure. But the taxi ride from where she was to the guy was 200 pounds. It could have been in 2 different countries. I could not tell you. I don't know how any of that continent is set up. So basically the other side of whatever. She paid half because she only had 100 pounds in her bank account, and then, which again, relatable. And then the guy paid the other 100 pounds. She had no money to get back home on Monday to her job. And then she was making this elaborate plan to get back home, to stay with her ex-boyfriend, and then wait till the money hit, and then she would leave like really early on Monday. Plans fall through. Her friend is calling her and she's like, where the F are you? Because her phone ended up dying or something. And she's like, oh, I don't know how to get back home. And then her friend, you can so clearly see in the dialogue that her friend is annoyed. Because that is very obnoxious. Girl, you've been like missing. What the heck are you doing? And you don't have the money to go back home to your job. And again, like reading that, I was like, what? Like, why are we making awful decisions? But at the same time, if I told people half the things that I've done, they're like, why are you so dumb? I get it. I completely get it. Because we've all been there. Being so like, if I told people about all the things that I've done, some people would look at me like sideways. So I can't be one to judge. And who are you to judge either too? So I know I was being kind of like a prick when I was reading this, because it was so, I had to stop because I was just so annoyed. But then when I finished it, I sat down and I'm like, why am I getting annoyed? I'm like, hello, you've been there before. But it was very lovely. I annotated a lot of the book, and it was just also very interesting reading it. I also didn't like one of the lines that she talked about, which was, I thought she was a bad friend for this. I don't think anything else that she did, I don't think she was a bad friend, but 2 things that were like you're kind of a bad friend, was when one of her friends got into a relationship. It took her like 5 years for her to be like, oh, they're serious. Because she couldn't accept the fact that like some women want to settle down and want to have love. Like she was always like fling casual stuff, like nothing serious. Which is also a little understanding, because one of her relationship like messed her up so bad that she got into an eating disorder. So that's understandable a little bit. But for her to take like 5 years, because that was crazy. To that same friend, her sister ended up having cancer. And then in one of the lines, she said, yeah, like the wedding was put on pause, so nobody really cared about it anymore because the sister had cancer. I'm like, that was crazy. But again, like, she was kind of being like raw and honest, and literally, like, you never know. Some people have like really shit thoughts, and that was crazy. I wish we read a little bit more about the sister and that connection, because that friend, she was friends since they were like 12, I think. Like her reaction to the sister passing away wasn't as detailed as I guess wish it was, just because I wanted to like know more of a connection of like, oh, this is your best friend. Like, I think your reaction would have been different. But again, that's just my own personal take. She was very vulnerable and honest and raw in a lot of things. which again just makes you question the character. And I think she's 30 now, if I'm not wrong. This book ends when she's in her 30s. And one of the things too that she talked about is like, when you're in your 20s, people still look at you like a teenager, like they don't think or take you seriously, which I think a lot of imposter syndrome comes in. And I can relate to that. I just don't feel like I should be at the table. But once you hit 30, people are like expecting you to be like this and that, and like a CEO and like a manager and like all this other fun stuff. And I kind of had my mind to like that too, until I read this book, and I was like, oh, like I am just a adult teenager, but I do belong where I belong. Like I think I should still grab like the grown-up things, if quote unquote, before I even hit 30. Like I don't have to have that age to prove a point, if that makes sense. So that was nice to like listen and like get validated, like, because I was feeling like that, and I was like, I don't know if anybody else feels like that. Then I talked about it to one of my friends, and they're like, oh, like you're so right. And they're like 2 years younger than me. I think they're, oh my god, I feel old. They're 22. They're turning 23 this year. But yeah, like I was talking to them about it, because I was like, you don't have to worry about that stuff. Like you're only 22. Like I remember when I was 22, and even though it was 2 years ago, it's still like so much changes in like such a short amount of time. It's actually insane. Like once you get your 20s, like a bunch of stuff happens constantly and your life changes so quickly, and it's the weirdest thing ever. But yeah, that's my rant about Everything I Know About Love by Dolly. The book is also mainly about like friendship, but you don't really see that until like the very end, in my opinion. I enjoyed it nonetheless. A lot of the paragraphs were very beautiful, a lot of the quotes were very beautiful, but you don't see it until the very end. So take that with what you want. I highly recommend it, but I don't think it's for everybody. I finally finished the series, okay? The one book that I was like really avoiding because I just didn't want to read anything about winter. So my ranking for this series is Summer and Rat, Cade and Willow, Theo and Winter, Bailey and Beau, and whatever their fucking name is, Jarvis, I think it is, and Sloane. They're the last. I hated that book with a passion. Literally hated it. This book, I give it, I think, a 3 stars, if I'm not wrong. It's a 3-star. Age gap, don't like it. Second of all, not 400, because I'm pretty sure this book is 400 pages. About like 150 pages were unnecessary in this book. I don't think I ever felt the chemistry the way that I felt it in Cade and Willow and Summer and Rat. Like it was, I don't think I ever felt that connection with them. And you don't really see them really be alone and like growing their relationship. It's mostly based on the kiddo, which makes sense. But I didn't enjoy it. I don't, they didn't have chemistry. I thought they were like co-parenting basically the entire time, like whatever. The thing that got me hooked on this book is that text message. I'm not even gonna tell you about it. I'm not, even though it is about, I said spoilers, but I'm not gonna tell you about this, because once I read that, oh my god, guys, I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And then I kept reading, and then I got bored. So 3 stars, recommend it. You'll finish the series, and it doesn't really intertwine like I wanted it to. Like you see some of the things that happen in other books, but it's not like, it's not so involved. A book that I do want though is Harvey's. I want a book about Harvey so bad. Him raising the kids, him and his wife that passed away, and then him and Carmela, I think that's what her name is. I wanna read about him. I wanna read about him so bad. The last couple books, I'm gonna kind of like speed run through them. So I read The Gift by Frida McFadden. I think that's how you pronounce her name. If not, I'm so sorry. I gave that a 3 stars. It was creepy. I was listening to it when I was walking. Don't recommend doing that. Nonetheless, it was fine. 451. I ranted about this in my reading vlog. I finished it. I still don't know what that book was about. 2 stars because I have no idea what happened. This is what I remember. His wife committed and then came back to life. The walls talk. There's a little girl that made him think. Books are basically illegal. a lady burned herself with her books. He basically started a civil war, and he killed the captain with the blowthorn.
Hi, this is Future Jess editing. So I am literally Googling it right now, and the lifespan of a soldier who had a flamethrower, not a blowtorch, two different things, girl, was 4 to 5 minutes. And then it was like a 92% casualty, which is crazy.
I think it's what it's called. Then I read Lone Survivor by Marcus Lutero. I think that's how you pronounce it. I gave it 3 stars. I recommend it. It's very interesting. Very informative too if you like anything about the military. He talks about his Navy SEAL like journey. Same thing with like American Sniper. Both very much arrogant men, and that's what kind of irritated me, and the way they spoke about politics and how basically belittle people from one side of like the political parties, which that was just irritating to hear just because of how mean it was. But besides the point, both men in my opinion were arrogant, but like, can you really be that humble if you're a Navy SEAL? I don't know, you tell me. That guy though, once you go into this book, if you listen to it, if you read it, just know it's very controversial. There's a bunch of Reddit forums, there's a bunch of YouTube videos, and there's a bunch of articles. So it is controversial. You know what I'm trying to say. So reading it, when I was reading it, I had already did my research, so it's like, the movie's really good though. So again, take that with a grain of salt. Okay, last 2 books. I think I'm gonna, this is a hate read basically, because this is one of my lower books too. 2 star. Terms and conditions, 2 star. If you tell me that you enjoyed this book, I want to slap you. Because how did you read this and you're like, he's the one? He called her useless. Why would you say with anybody who calls you that? Why would you say with anybody when they disrespect you like that, let alone don't trust you? Why? So that most irritating. Oh, it was so annoying. So 3rd act breakup per usual, because he didn't even apologize that well in my opinion. And see this little greenhouse? Okay, so again, spoilers. She talks about like wanting a greenhouse and blah blah blah, and instead of, I don't know, building it for her, you're a freaking billionaire, he just mentions that, oh, we can do it. Oh, I was like, I think they're from the same author, and they are. Same author. Lauren Asher, what the frick? What he did, Mr. Raphael, he made a garden for Miss Ellie of Hawaiian flowers. Freaking puas, bro. She didn't have to ask. She didn't have to ask. He just did them. And they died because of winter. And then he's like, we'll build a greenhouse next spring, whatever. And he's just like, he's like, yeah, we'll do it. He doesn't even do it in the book. He doesn't. Nope. In his apology, this also pissed me off because I think it was so manipulated. In his apology was him buying a minivan, him getting her like a cottage house. I was annoyed. Then they epilogue, they had kids, and so whatever. Over it. I was so over it. And then I'm like thinking back at Rowan and I forgot her name. Iris maybe? Just kidding. Rowan and Zara. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I read this back in like 2021. Look at her. She's beauty, she's great, she's everything. Taste. That's me rhyming. So if I remember correctly, all the pink tabs are like something cute. All the yellow tabs are something like happy. Red tabs are, you know. Purple tabs could be quotes. I really don't remember how I did this. And orange tabs I think had to do with the plot. And there's a lot of yellow. Green was like jealousy or like gross, if I'm not wrong. T, like, this is gross. All I care about is finding someone who's practical, fertile, and has a face considered in proportion enough to be deemed attractive. Ew. Besides the point. I remember enjoying this book very much. I annotated this book and I enjoyed it very much. I remember crying at this book. I gave it a 5-star. I loved the epilogue. So the fact that this book and this book are in the same universe pisses me off, because this man was terrible. Hated him with every single thing. He changed. I remember him changing. Very vividly. When she was about to walk out is when you decided to change. Not even. Like, she left and he didn't even notice. I was just so irritated. I wish she had more of a backbone, because it seemed like she had a backbone, but then, like, it turns out that she doesn't. So I was like, oh my god, don't piss me off. I hope that they went to marriage counselor, okay? Counseling, because they kind of need it. Specifically him. He needs to go to therapy. Anyways, that was 2 stars. I'm not gonna finish the series because I read a little bit of the other brother in that book, and I was like, don't piss me off. But if you think that I should, because I know he's like an alcoholic in that book, and I like seeing books write about that, but correctly. Okay? So if they do it correctly, let me know and I'll pick it up. But if not, I don't wanna, because if I read that book and it's the exact same thing as Hopeless, where it's 40 pages of him being an alcoholic, and then someone's like, that's embarrassing, and he stops drinking, I'm gonna throw a fit. Because that was so irritating. Anyways, I'm done being a hater. Mile high. So I have read great reviews of this series. I liked it. I really did. I think I gave it a 4-star if I'm not wrong. I gave it a 3-star. Okay, it really didn't move me. It didn't like make me cry. I recommend it. I have the second book. I might read it. I don't know if I'm gonna finish the series, because I was looking up the other books and they just did not seem that interesting. Like, I want to read about Morgan and Lauren. I want to read about them, but I don't think they get a book. So, but Mr. Xanders and Stevie, cute, loved it. It was whatever. What I didn't like about this book is, I think they just do it wrong, or I'm just too judgy. When they talk about certain stuff like mental illness and like this and that, they talk about it in like such a Disney-like way. It annoys me so much. I just want people to talk about it in like first-hand experience, and because it just sounds like you've never been in that position, the way that they explain it. That's just how I think about it. And then I had to skip again, spoilers, I had to skip like 4 or 5 pages, basically a whole chapter, because there was a point in the book that the character's like, you know what, I'm confident, I don't care about anything, paparazzi, blah blah blah. She goes outside, takes off her trench coat, and she's like, this is me. I had to skip that, because all it reminded me was Radio Rebel. I'm Radio Rebel. That's what it reminded me of. And I'm like, I'm getting secondhand embarrassment. I hate this. So I literally had to skip that entire page, and I hated it. I hated it with so much passion. Because some of the stuff that people are doing in the book, I'm like, no one in their right mind would do that. No one. I don't care how confident you are. No one's gonna do that. So, especially to a bunch of paparazzi, okay? Especially that, because they're ruthless. So that was whatever. I would like a continuation of this book though, because it was cute and we did kind of leave on a cliffhanger, but like I just wanted like a longer epilogue. That's all I have to say about that book. And that is all the books that I read so far this year. I had a lot more to say than I originally thought, but I am doing pretty good in my opinion. So far I've read 13 books. I'm out of 50. I'm 1 book ahead apparently from schedule, and I've read 26% of my goal. And my TBR, actually, I've been kind of killing it, honestly. I've been touching some of the books, which is not like me, but I've been doing it. If you have any other recommendations for any books that you like, if I should continue some series, please let me know. Please force me if you think that they are really good, but I think you could tell kind of what I like and don't like just from this video alone. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll probably do another one in another 4 months probably. All the books, all the physical copies that I have. Wait, mine is this one. These are all my physical copies. So this is, and out of like, I think 300 books that I have, I think I've read close to 200 now, which is pretty good. I'll have to count them again and review it. But yeah, and I'm currently reading still The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I can't, any Hunger Game books, it takes me a hot minute because it is a little gut-wrenching reading them. This one specifically because it's Snow's mind. And I really just like, I hate being in his head, and that's why I didn't read it when it came out. But I'm like kind of pushing through just in case they decide to release another book, because Susan Collins is crazy. And what else am I reading? Actually, I just realized that I'm not reading a romance book. This section, I'm reading The Midnight Library. I've heard really mixed reviews on this, so we'll see if I like it. And then Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. But yeah, those are the books that I'm reading so far, and those are the books that I've read so far in 2026. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. My freaking camera's gonna die, but I love you so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.